Sarah continues. She was crying and devastated and shaking, and her mind was going in all sorts of directions, which I think is understandable when somebody has been in her situation. But one thing that she kept repeating was, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. Guys, Wendi, just days after Dan's murder, is repeatedly saying, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. I wonder how many times Jeff sat around with his friends telling them that he was going to prison for the rest of his life. Not sure, but I would guess 0. Sarah elaborates on this saying, at the time I was a public defender. I think I might have been a senior or a trainer, but I was handling with my mentor a case involving a wrongful conviction. And that's where most of my mental energy was going at the time, was that wrongful conviction. So I thought at the time that Wendi was referring to a possibility of a wrongful conviction. I thought people would suspect her, information. She was afraid that information would be wrongfully pieced together, especially with her and Dan's acrimonious history. Right. I thought that that's what she was sort of alluding to. Then the lawyer says, obviously, you're telling the story as if you're looking at it in hindsight. Now you're looking at it as if you drew the incorrect conclusion at the time. But that was a conclusion that you drew back then when she says, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. It's because she's obviously going to be a suspect if she's the ex. So Sarah, at the time, figures that Wendi is saying that she's going to prison for the rest of her life because she thinks that she will be wrongfully convicted simply because she's the ex. A belief that Sarah admits that she interpreted incorrectly and has since changed her mind about. Do we all understand the gravity of what was just said? Wendi, days after the murder, sitting in her parents' Miami condo, next to one of her best friends, Sarah, and her boyfriend at the time, not Jeff, in the midst of crying and shaking, starts to repeat over and over, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. I mean, at least she knows. But for real, no innocent person would act like this. Even if you had been actually charged and were innocent and sitting in jail, you would be proclaiming your innocence, not announcing that you were going to spend the rest of your life in prison.